It's time to mow your yard. Thank you for watching WJTS Inform. Let's find out about lawn care in this edition as we have with us the extension agent from Purdue University for Du Bois County, Kenny Eck. And Kenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bill.
Well, you know, we all like mowing our yard and yet we don't like mowing our yard. But yards, this is the time to start taking care of them, start thinking about mowing and lawn care. Let's talk about lawns.
Okay, yeah, but it's basically a necessary evil out there. You want to have an attractive property, attractive home out there, but you need some way to take care of the soil around it, and the lawn is basically the only real option you have out there. You can do some trees, landscaping to help a little bit, but a lot of times this is what the larger acreage is. This is what you have to look at.
Okay.
So when you're thinking, well, first of all, we need to talk about lawns a little bit because of last year's drought.
Yes.
There's a lot of people, my own lawn included, that were really stressed out by the heat and the temperatures we had out there. Lack of water, other things that kind of took its toll on some of the species we had in our front yards. So we need to go out there and think about trying to replace some of those. Right now you probably have a lot of weeds coming up. There's a lot of neat things out there, a lot of purple weeds out there we're seeing, a lot of broadleaves need to be taken care of. But let's just kind of start with lawns in general. One of the first things we should do when we're starting with lawn is just like with a garden, is start with a soil test. We need to see what's out there. We need to have nutrients for our crops, in this case a lawn. We need to have water out there, and we need to have a good soil out there for it to grow in. So first we'll look at the soil tests. We provide in a lot of lawn care places around here, as well as the ag communities and things. You can go into certain stores and get soil test kits. They have each group has their own way to do that. But if a person comes out, they can get a packet from our office. They can go out, sample their own yard. It tells the depth to go to and how to do it. Put it in a bag. Send it off to a laboratory, get results back telling you exactly how much nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium they might need to put on their lawn then during the growing season. So you need a soil test to know what's out there to begin with. A lot of problems right now people are talking about is we have uneven areas of our yard with the soil. It's rolling, it has molehills. Should I go out there and roll the yard? You can buy in local stores large cylinders where you fill with water for weight, put it behind your garden tractor and drive back and forth. We don't recommend those too much for leveling the yard. If you really need to level a yard, you should go out with maybe some extra soil with some grass seed in it. Try to fill in the lower places so that it matches the rest of the yard. When you use that roller, what you're doing is you're actually compacting or mashing down the soil on the high places. So later on, your lawn's going to look nice now and flat like you might want it, but you're going to have problems with the fact that you've compacted areas where the roots won't be able to go through as easily, and your grass may be thinner there later on because of that compaction problem. If you do have molehills or things like that, or you're trying to disturb some soil to put in new grass, those rollers do come in handy for packing down a molehill maybe. Like mine, we have several large dogs and they just don't quite know what to do with those moles, so they come through and we have tunnels all over the place. So I can go through there and level off the yard that way. But for large areas where it's just uneven or where roots are pushing up from large trees, which is a common problem, you need to go out and maybe add additional soil and level it out a little bit. And then maybe pack it down lightly with a roller, but not have the roller be the device to flatten the yard.
Okay.
As far as seeding, the best time to seed a yard is in the fall, which doesn't help us now in the spring. The reason for that is because when you go out there and seed, either by slit seeding, which is where you go through with usually a rented device, kind of like a large square lawnmower, you go through and it puts seeds in the ground by putting them in slits they've cut in the grass. It puts the seed down in the ground where it needs to be, with soil and seed contact. And then that plant can get developed in the fall, so a lot of the annual weeds we have, especially broadleaves, won't be here, or crabgrass won't be here this spring now because it's had a whole season to kind of get established and grow, and it can outcompete the weeds in the spring then.
Okay.
A second way to do it is what's called dormant seeding, where you throw the seed out there in the middle of everything from November up until early March. The seeds fall on the ground as things freeze and thaw, which is not quite as common down here as it used to be in the winter. But those seeds will slowly work their way into the soil, so again, you have good seed-to-soil contact. And of course now, the only option we really have now is going out there and spreading seed in spring seeding. Again, it's not quite as desirable because the weeds are also up right now, especially we're getting into April and May already. So it's the only option you really have though. If you have patches of yard that are dead for some reason, weeds or drought or stress or whatever it might be, go through and try to take the thatch off by raking it. Remove that, try to get the seeds worked into the ground, and try to get as much seed to soil contact as you can. If you're trying just to put additional seed out there, because a lot of the grass has been weakened over the years from actually 3 years of drought of some type, you can go out there and simply broadcast seed it, where you simply sling the seed out by hand, or more preferably by some type of little box spreader of some type. The best one being what's called a drop spreader, where the seed goes through the bottom and falls directly straight down onto the lawn. Other people have slingers, where it kind of uses a lot for fertilizer, which works well for fertilizer because fertilizer has a lot of weight to it, so it'll evenly spread it around your yard. A lot of these devices don't even have numbers on them, though, to tell you how to set it, because seeds are very light and they kind of blow around the wind. So what you end up doing is these devices will throw the seed kind of in a strip right in front of you, but you won't throw it out on the side evenly enough to make a good spread. If you do use them, though, which people do, try to go maybe a half or a third rate for your seed, and maybe go north and south the first time and east and west the second time, and maybe at an angle of some other way a third time. So you're putting on a little bit each time, but you won't have streaks through the yard because you've more evenly distributed it in a way that needs to be done. Let's see, what else is there? Well, as far as preparing seed beds, again, we talked about trying to go through and work it up a little bit. After you prepare a seed bed in a new area or in a place you're trying to renovate, maybe let it sit for a couple days. You might want to pack it down a little bit so it's got a good firm seed bed. We don't want it too fluffy. Let it rain on it a little bit, perhaps. That also settles the soil a bit. And then go out and try to work in the seed. When you're done with a new seeding area, try to mulch it in if you can. What we recommend is trying to go out there with maybe a bale of hay for every 1,000 square feet. Okay. You should probably see about half the area covered in straw and half still being bare soil. That gives the water a chance to get in, a chance for air to get in there. If you have too much straw, you can make it too wet and reduce some of the airflow in there and all that. Also think about trying to put some starter fertilizer that contains some phosphorus. If you look on the bag, that'd be the second number. It's N, P, and K on a bag of fertilizer. And phosphorus helps with getting the plant established and the roots growing and things like that. We usually recommend about 1.5 pounds of phosphorus per 1,000 square feet. So like a 50 by 20 area would be about 1,000 square feet. Okay. And again, it helps get the plant going, and then the mulch helps protect it so it doesn't get washed away by heavy rains, which we have a lot in the spring, and other problems like animals or dogs or pets that might be running through the area. For watering for a new yard, new area, what we recommend is about 2 to 4 times a day. The soil will dry out quickly if not watched, so you need to go out there, and until that seed gets established, it needs to have a lot of moisture in the soil. So try to keep it moist down to about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch in depth, where the seed's going to be trying to emerge from. Do it about 2 to 4 times a day, and then as you see the seedlings coming up, just watch the grass and see what you can see out there. You see little green spikes coming through. Start reducing that to what you might do for your normal lawn watering schedule, if anything. Or if it's raining out in early this time of the year, rain's not as big of a concern as maybe it would be in July or August. As far as July or August, summer seedings are probably the worst time to try to get plants established. The heat stress, if we have a warm year like we've had for several years, is very challenging on a new seedling of any type, be it a vegetable crop, a farmer's corn or soybean crop, and in your yard especially. So those little grass seedlings don't really like to have a lot of heat stress out there, so try to avoid summer seedings by all means. It just won't work very well.
Is there a time you should be watering your lawn? Morning, evening?
Yes, actually probably the best time is about 5 o'clock in the morning. That sounds kind of very specific, but what happens is when the water, if you go out early in the morning.
I thought you were just trying to get me up early.
No.
Okay, all right.
It's tough to do that because you're getting ready for work or whatever that time of day. What happens is that way the water can go in the ground. It's cooler, and so you're not going to have a lot of evaporation. Mm-hmm. So late in the evening or early in the morning would be the best 2 times. But if you do it late at night, you've got wet grass out there all night, and it provides a chance for disease to come in. So by doing it early in the morning, what's happening is the disease won't take place because those wet plants, by 6 or 7 o'clock, the sun will come up, it'll dry the plants off, so the chance for disease is kind of reduced quite a bit. But the plants have the moisture in the ground, and it's not evaporated. It's all going in the ground where you need to have it at, so you're getting more bang for your buck as far as what you're putting out there. Another thing as far as putting water on your lawn is one of the worst case scenarios is the retired gentleman that's out there and he has nothing to do except go out and maybe water the lawn for 15 minutes every day. And that's one of the worst things to do for your lawn. What you want to do is put on a lot of water infrequently. What this does is it puts a lot of water deep into the soil, and the plant roots will go deeper into the soil to get to those. So if you maybe, instead of doing it every day, so the plant knows that they have exactly 1 inch to put the roots down and exactly where that water's at, instead they have to kind of get prepared for in case that little mini drought comes by the end of the week, so they're stronger plants that way. And also that way, we usually have problems from people that say, well, I watered them every day and I went to Florida for 2 weeks and came back. Well, that plant was kind of spoiled by having that one little surface area, and they come back and the whole yard's dead because they've babied it for years, but that 1 week they were gone, it was when it was dry and things didn't work out well then.
So this is one case you should be inconsistent.
That's right, be inconsistent and a little bit mean once in a while with your yard.
Okay.
Let it go dry and it helps it out actually. Talk about watering, talking about mowing. When you mow things, what you want to do is not take off more than maybe 1/3 of the total height at any given time. So if your lawn has grown to 4 inches, you should only cut it down to 3 inches, and maybe come back in 2 or 3 days and cut down another third if you've let it go for too long or you've been out of town on vacation or something like that. The reason is if you cut off too much, you're going to stress the plant out, and that causes problems with the plant later on, and it also might bring in diseases or other concerns you might have out there. As far as the heights for specific plants, Kentucky bluegrass, perennial ryegrass, fine fescue should be about 2 inches to 3.5 inches. Tall fescue, turf type, should be about 2.5 to 4 inches. And zoysia, which we don't see a lot of around here, it's more frequently down in Florida, is about 1 to 2 inches. So that should be your target for setting your mowers and things, and that's pretty well something you should have every week is check your mower, go out there and look at it, make sure something hasn't been bumped around, you're going across the lawn. And again, that's just what gives you the nicest looking lawn. If you go a little bit on the high end, more towards the 3 or 4 inch range, depending on what the range is for each of these, what it does is it shades out a lot of weeds too. So a lot of people want to cut short so that way it can grow more before they get to that final height. If you can make it higher each week though, and kind of shade out the other competition out there, you may not have to rely so much on herbicides because they're having to fight to get through. If it's a well-fertilized, well-watered lawn, it's going to look really nice out there, plus you're going to not have to put as many inputs into it, like the chemicals.
Okay.
Another thing, just basic stuff about mowers themselves. Make sure you have sharp blades. By this time, most people have already mowed their lawn about once or twice at least. Mine's still in the shop yet. I'm getting new tires and things that were missing from last year fixed, but by now you should have gone out there and done something to kind of get ahead of the growth. It's going to be moving pretty quick now as we get into warmer temperatures. Early on, it's going to be nice and succulent. You'll probably have maybe 1 or 2 mowings at least each week to think about. But you should definitely have sharp blades. What happens is the way most rotary mowers work is kind of like having a machete and going through a jungle. Those blades are spinning, and just like you have a chopping of a machete, you're chopping off the top blades. A better version of a mower is actually the old reel type mowers we used to have, way back when. What they do is they're more like a scissors when they cut because you have one blade going against another blade, just like a scissors, and you have a very even cut on the blade, and there's not as much chance for disease to come in. When you have a dull rotary mower blade go through, you have real jagged edges on it, or fibers coming out of the thing actually that might be a 1/4 inch long or so, and it's a plant's problem because you can have a chance for disease to come on there. So if you can, do rotary mower. A lot of concerns about that though because of maintenance. You have to sharpen blades a lot, and a lot of people don't like that for that reason. So if you have a rotary mower, which most of us have, keep the blades sharp. Do check the oil and things so you have a good mower for the season and go from there. When you mow, you should think about trying to mow when it's less than 90 degrees out. Again, you're trying not to stress the plant any more than you have to. Early in the morning, once the dew's gone, or later in the evening when you come home from work are good times to mow the lawn. That's when a lot of people do it just because of their schedules. But again, you're not hitting a plant with having a third of its height knocked off as well as heat stress like in the middle of the day. So if you can avoid that, which sometimes we can't, try to mow it maybe in the evenings or early mornings then.
Okay.
And mulching mower, that's another question we have a lot of questions about in our office. Mulching mowers are great for chopping up the plant residue, the leaves and things from the lawn, and putting it back into the ground. That's a good source of nutrients. But they really don't make much difference in comparison to your normal mowers. So if you can find one that's relatively similar in cost to what maybe your normal mower might be, it might be a good opportunity there. But really, your normal mower is going to throw grass out a certain distance, usually about 1 or 2 widths over again. As long as there's not too much grass out there, there's really not a lot of difference between those 2 types of mowers. So you might want to check the prices and see if it's really worth it sometimes. The clippings themselves, I recommend you don't bag them up. It's a lot of extra work to have to haul them someplace and get rid of them. It does make great compost for your garden if you have something, like if you have sweet corn or tomato plants. They're very succulent because their leaves have just grown since last week. Not a lot of fiber there to cause problems with breaking down, but they also provide a lot of nutrients either to your garden or to your lawn. So if you leave them on the lawn, you're going to have just kind of recycling of nutrients. You won't need as many fertilizers out there, and they don't really hurt anything. A lot of people think that they have too many clippings out there. They need to dethatch or aerate their lawn out a lot more. The thatch is actually little stems and things that are lower in the plant that you're not cutting off each week, and it really doesn't make a lot of difference. The thatch is a separate issue. For weeds, that's the other thing we think about a lot once we get done mowing and reseeding. What should we do with our weeds out there? First of all, again, if you have a nice, healthy lawn, it's going to reduce the number of weeds you have to begin with. Early in the year, we should be thinking about some kind of broadleaf herbicide, or in the late fall. Kill some of them in the fall if you can, so your grass is more healthy when it comes out in the spring. Or now, like in my lawn, or I think we were talking earlier about maybe your lawn also, perhaps. We need to think about that. One time you don't want to worry about doing the broadleaf herbicides or any type of herbicide, though, is if you have grass seeds out there. We need to have those grass seeds growing, be nice and strong before we hit them with another stressor, in this case a herbicide, that might either kill them or affect how they grow. For broadleaf weeds, usually you want to try to have at least 3 mowings out there of that new growth on those new seedlings before you actually go out and put a herbicide on. So they've got established root systems and they can live through that. If you're putting out something to control crabgrass, the main non-broadleaf problem we have out there, you should never use it if you're putting grass seedlings out there. Crabgrass control, first of all, crabgrass is an annual. It grows every year from seed that's been there from the previous year. So what we're doing is we're putting out a chemical that prevents it from sprouting. So if you go out there with new grass seed and you're putting this herbicide out there, you're going to prevent the new grass seed as well as the grass weed, the crabgrass in this case, from both coming up. So you won't really get any benefit from your grass seed, especially if you have a bare patch, you've just reseeded, you've just taken it out of commission for another year. So we're doing crabgrass control. You need to think about that. If you've got a good lawn or one you've seeded in the fall, again, another reason to do that, you're pretty good to go out there and take care of it in the spring then. The last thing is grubs. A lot of people are trying to put grub control out right now. The life cycle of grubs really state that we should go out and try to do this in May sometime, more than April or March. Okay. At that point, the grubs are getting active out there. The insecticides are getting in the soil right where they're at when they start feeding and things, and they come out, and then they'll be poisoned by doing it that way. Instead of putting it on now and they're still dormant yet, they're not coming out, they won't react or be around where that insecticide is. So you're really not going to get any usefulness out of it. It'll start degrading, and you're kind of wasting money right now yet. So wait till May or so. That's the more appropriate time. Read the labels for herbicides as well as insecticides and follow the instructions as far as the rates and other things so you and your family are safe. And if you have any questions, you can call out to our office and we can try to help you out with some of the interpretation of those labels too.
Okay, so anytime somebody's got you don't mow the lawn, right? But
we don't mow the lawn, no. Well, we can kind of help them out. They have concerns or something. Again, if we can help with basic, we have seeding rates out there for different things. A lot more we want to put over the air perhaps today, but we have publications on turf grass, establishing new turfs, all types of diseases. All these things can be, you can pick them offline. Just put in Purdue Extension, and then whatever the problem is, it'll pop up at our university site, or you can go directly to the Purdue Extension site here in DuBois County, which is at www.extension.purdue.edu/DuBois. And there's a section that says different things like lawns, gardens, landscaping. All those issues are in there at our website. You can go through and get publications or find out more about local events we have sometimes too that deal with some of these issues.
Okay, well, we're out of time, but we certainly do appreciate you coming in. And remember, they're always available to answer your questions, so just give Kenny a call and he'll be glad to help you out. He will not mow your lawn, but he will give you good advice.
That's right.
All right, thank you very much. Our guest has been Ken Eck with the Purdue Extension Office in DuBois County. I'm Bill Potter. Thanks for watching WJTS.